Yo, what's up? We're back with this week's tip of the week. And today, this tip of the week is going to revolve around Marth, aka the second boss in Necrotic Wake, aka that dumbass dragon that's in Necrotic Wake that will end up wiping your group in pugs more often than not. And the tip of the week involves the Final Harvest, which is the cast that sucks in all of the ads remaining and then will effectively just wipe your whole entire party if there are any ads up. And we're going to talk about how to mitigate this, things that you can do to be able to deal with those ads, and just making the fight easier as a whole. So first and foremost, what do you need for this? Basically, you need any CC that works on undead units. There are a lot of CCs that don't necessarily work on undead units, but at the same time, there are a lot of CCs that actually do work on undead units. Things such as Paralysis, Freezing Trap, Holy Paladins are meta, so stuff like Turn Evil also works on them. If you're playing with a Priest, you can Shackle them. A lot of that CC does work on undead units. Of course, like AoE stuns, Cyclone, that kind of thing also works on them, but a little bit less frequently should it be used, and the reason for that is because those are pretty short form CCs, whereas the other ones that I listed, like Turn Evil and Paralysis and stuff, are a little bit more long form CCs, and you would rather have them CC'd for a longer period of time. And the reason for that is, we're about to get to that in a second, but yeah, so prioritize long CCs on the Brittlebone Mages. And the reason for this is because whenever the mobs are under effect of the CC, the Final Harvest, whenever it's finished, will not consume the ads if they are under the effect of any CC. And that's not just Paralysis, Freezing Trap, Turn Evil. That's also things like Cyclone. That's things like AoE stuns, like Chaos Nova or whatever else, right? And then if they are CC'd whenever that goes off, they don't get consumed, which means you don't end up wiping. And so how is this useful? I talked about the Brittlebone Mages. Those are the guys that cast the Frostbolt Volley. Those guys are assholes, and if you don't have enough kicks in your group, say you're running like a triple ranged comp, you probably don't have enough kicks, and it's a bit brutal to be able to get those. And so having one of the Brittlebone Mages CC'd the whole entire time, you drag the boss on top of the other Brittlebone Mage, you just kind of get rotational kicks on that guy. It's not that big of a deal. You leave the other guy CC'd permanently. That's a really common strategy for high-end keys. That's actually really common for high-end keys. You can probably pull this off in pugs and have pretty high degrees of success. Not that big of a deal as a whole. And that's actually not that bad. So as you can see on the screen right here, you see Growl, he uses Turn Evil on that one Brittlebone Mage, and it makes it flee and run away for forever. Turn Evil is kind of weird like that. It can also... Starfall will hit targets that are affected by Turn Evil. So I guess if you're a Moonkin watching this, you should probably know that. And it can break the fear. I don't really know why. It's just one of the CCs that doesn't really work. Yeah. Marth will eventually cast the Final Harvest with that mob still CC'd and not wipe the group because it is CC'd. It also works on all other mobs, not just the Brittlebone Mages. Although the Brittlebone Mages are typically the most high priority to have this work on. And as I mentioned, this works for stuff like AoE stuns. And so you can get the crossbowmen and the warriors and whatnot caught in an AoE stun, and this can actually save your party if you're really clutch about it. We like Chaos Nova, Leg Sweep, Shockwave, all those kinds of things. The mobs just have to be stunned or group CC'd. Shadow Fury, I guess, also works the moment that the Final Harvest is going to go off. And you can see that demonstrated on screen right here, where the Final Harvest is going off. The Chaos Nova comes out right before. You can also use Dragon's Breath and shit too. The Chaos Nova goes off right before, and then everything is okay because the mobs were CC'd. It's really difficult to reliably use for your party, but knowledge of this can actually save your group from otherwise like impending doom. So when should you do this? Basically, if you're gonna wipe in the second clip, you should always just like throw out a CC and pray to God that you live, right? There's definitely a lot of cases where I'll just like randomly Cyclone a mob at low health and try to save us whenever the Final Harvest is going off. Basically, you just try to be clutch if the Final Harvest is going to go off with some ads up. As for like long form CC, there's a lot of strategies where people just CC the Brittlebone Mages and just don't deal with them at all. That's actually really good. And if you have CCs for every single time, so say you have a Freezing Trap for every single set, you should honestly just throw it out every single time on a Brittlebone Mage, and just, if your group pulls the fucking boss on top of it, so be it. If your group elects to leave it there, caught in the Freezing Trap, sick. That's kind of cool. You can also CC both mages and ignore them entirely if that makes sense for your group. Not exactly the most common thing, but it's definitely something that you could do if you have enough CCs for it. You can also use blind and shit like that. So some sets may get double CC'd. Never really know. But with that said, that is the tip of the week involving Amarth, the second boss in Necrotic Wake, and how to deal with the final harvest. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.